Thousands of Zimbabweans living in South Africa face an uncertain future and possible deportation before a June 2023 expiration of their work permits, following an announcement by Pretoria last year that there will be no extension. This week in Pretoria High Court, we will hear three challenges from various civil society organizations against the scrapping of the Zimbabwean exemption permit. We now cross over live to ZTN Prime Correspondent in South Africa, Mark Roughton, to get more on the case. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, Mark, given that about 170,000 Zimbabweans have been affected, a number that could balloon, obviously, when you consider the family members, with some having children and all, that were born there, how significant is the application by the civic organizations?
This is a very, very important application by these organizations. There are three organizations that have brought this application to court this week, and between today, Tuesday, and the end of the week, all three will be heard. The first up was the Helen Suzman Foundation, but we also have the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit Holders Association, as well as the Zimbabwean Immigration Federation. But on Tuesday, the advocate Stephen Budlender for the Helen Suzman Foundation was arguing that the manner in which Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi introduced this cancellation of the ZEP, the Zimbabwe Exemption Permit, he's arguing that there are two grounds on which it is procedurally unfair and irrational. And the advocate is arguing that this opportunity for those who are affected by this declaration was not made available to them prior to it actually being announced. And since then, you know, the Home Affairs Minister has said people can make applications, make submissions, but it's not clear what form that should take. And he's already said on multiple occasions that he has no intention of changing his mind. So the Helen Suzman Foundation are challenging constitutionally this decision, but also saying that it goes beyond that, even if it doesn't apply with regard to the PIA laws in this country. It is still a matter of human rights, and perhaps a human rights violation for such a big change to be made, and the impact it's going to have on people who didn't have a chance to make representations prior to this 30 June deadline being implemented.
And you're absolutely right, Mark. I mean, this issue is a big one, a big deal right here in Zimbabwe. And over there generally, how prominent has the case of the Zimbabweans set to return to their country been after the expiry of the exemption permits?
It's an interesting dynamic. Those who work alongside and within communities where there's a strong or a large number of Zimbabwean nationals who've been living here for a long time. This is relevant in Cape Town, where I'm reporting from. You know, the impact has been coming for some time. There've been fears in the past of people having to return home at relatively short notice, and in some cases, you know, individuals have chosen to just ride their luck and hope that things blow over. But we're in a situation now where even the Zimbabwean ambassador in Pretoria has said, you know, they are reaching out and calling on people to register and give details of how many people want to move back to Zimbabwe and how many family members they have to take with them. But there was no clear indication of how many people have actually taken up this offer of assistance, even from the Zimbabwean government. So to imagine that 170,000 people will suddenly up and move back to Zimbabwe, it's very, very difficult to imagine that happening anytime soon and with any amount of ease. There are practical implications as well. Again, you know, the ambassador here in South Africa is saying that the Zimbabwean government is making an effort to make concessions and allow people to be able to bring goods and even vehicles and business equipment back over, and to waive duties on that. But it's a process that could become very, very slow and tedious. And in the meantime, you know, people are going to be affected from that 30th of June deadline if they find themselves in a situation where they are now suddenly illegally in the country.
Right, Mark. So, given the sensitivity, obviously, of this case, how much pressure will the government in South Africa face if the civil organizations that have made the applications get their way?
The government is under pressure already, I would say. You know, the Home Affairs Minister has categorically said he will not shift this date. There will be no more exemptions or no more postponements. And the reality is that, you know, these next few days in court will actually determine whether or not he actually needs to make some changes. There are other groups that have also joined, you know, to defend or you know, oppose this application. We had the Operation Dudula also trying to actually join this application, but they were denied access to the court. Their argument was more along the lines of criminality in the country and trying to make a vague connection between that and the number of foreign nationals in South Africa. So that, you know, that was rejected by the High Court. But the situation, you know, if we look at cases in recent years regarding people stuck in South Africa and having to face possible deportation or moving to being relocated to another country, it becomes a long and slow process. We've had situations in the city of Cape Town where there was even arguments between municipal and national level whose responsibility it was to actually now provide for people who suddenly find themselves homeless and are at the mercy of other organizations and governments to actually relocate them or repatriate them. So it is, I suspect, a ticking time bomb that not that many people are aware of. Those who work and socialize alongside Zimbabweans here in South Africa will be very aware of this dark cloud that is looming. But I think the average South African, unless they are close to a community or working with people, they probably don't have an idea just how heavy an impact this could have on the 170 odd thousand Zimbabwean nationals currently in South Africa.